Caddis Maximus here. This time doing a quick review and a bit of a comparison of these two basic Rock River folding sleeve lock knives. And I'm kind of doing this as a bonus review. PewDiePie has bonus memes, and so I'll do bonus reviews. If you haven't heard of PewDiePie, don't worry about it. He's kind of a small up-and-coming YouTuber. We'll see if I get any comments from that. I will be I will be comparing them to the two Harbor Freight Gordon knives as well as the Milwaukee Fastback. I had done a review and comparison of the Harbor Freights and the Milwaukee Fastback, but I thought it might get a little old for when I pick up folding pocket knives, always just compare them to the Harbor Freight. So now I do kind of advertise this as just a straight review of the new folding knives, but I'll just take out my whatever I have in my current collection and then use that as a basis to compare them to. So we have two different Rock River. These are the basic cheaper ones. These are kind of Fastenal specials. Fastenal is a commercial supply chain, kind of like Grainger and MSC, but they tend to steer towards the construction industry. Grainger is more for farm and industrial. And then MSC is almost exclusively industrial supplies and machine tooling, that kind of stuff. So these are the two of the more cheaper ones. Unfortunately, Fastenal has some dramatic, those three companies I mentioned, including Fastenal, if you go into any of their stores as just a basic customer, you're going to have, the prices are going to be just unbelievable, like full retail or even above MSRP. It's always the criticism I've had with all those businesses is they just charge individual customers outrageous amounts of money, basically to subsidize the heavy 20, 30, even 40% discounts that they give to their industrial customers. Obviously, the greater the volume that the customer has, the greater the discount they get. What is particularly annoying about Fastenal is they always advertise online their wholesale price. So when you look at this, it's like $17. You look at this, it's like $15, which is also puzzling because this one's an aluminum body. This is a G10 or fiber reinforced body, like the Harbor Freight tactical knife. Yet the all metal body is actually cheaper than the composite body, where on the Harbor Freight it makes more sense. The composite tactical knife is cheaper than the all stainless steel one. Rock River appears to be a company that actually makes quite a bit of different products, and I don't know if they're like a division of Fastenal or if these are just Fastenal specials. I can't really tell you, besides the fact that both these packagings really have a Fastenal copyright on them right there. These are, that one's made in China. I think these are both made in China. Indeed they are. Let's take a quick look at the packaging. I already opened these up so I can get that thumbnail image. And it's the standard stuff, stainless steel blade, G10 composite handle, reinforced pocket clip, which I'm not sure, thumb studs, liner lock. And it even says that right here, look, it has a sharp blade. So when you buy these, you don't have to sharpen the blade. I'm really glad they pointed that out because it's just so often that you buy pocket knives that have dull blades that you have to sharpen right out of the box. Quite frankly, that's just a bit ridiculous and shows that people who design product packaging obviously are not paid enough. And two, they probably never actually even see the actual product. They just get an image saying, oh, we're distributing this, make a package up. And sometimes the stuff they put on the packaging is evidence of just that severe disconnect. So let's go and pop these out. Since I already did open these up, we don't need this packaging anymore. So here we are, and we'll get them all side by side here. So this is advertised as 3 1/4 inch. The rest of these are advertised as 3-inch knives. So let's do the first. Whoop! I'm not even in frame here. Let's do the first comparison, and I will include the part numbers for these in the description. Here's the Harbor Freight Gordon Tactical, and then here is the Rock River. So the Rock River is a little bit thicker. I do like that. The serrations on the back, somebody had posted in a comment that is known as jimping, and so it does have some pretty aggressive jimping on the back, but it has nothing on the front. If we go ahead and open it up, it actually runs pretty smooth. The blade is actually reasonably tight. If we squeeze right here where it would be the weakest, we can actually see that that's quite strong. And the reason I point that out is like this Milwaukee here is really the one I pointed out. Even for a Milwaukee, you can just see how much I can squash that. So in comparison to the Milwaukee, that's actually much better, and you can see that the liner is quite a bit thicker than the Milwaukee, which is surprising. This particular Milwaukee blade was never, Milwaukee shouldn't have made a blade that was quite as cheap as this one, but you can see that the liner is almost, it looks like it's 50% thicker. It's surprising. Anyway, the liner does appear to be stainless steel. I do kind of like the effect that they have on this blade where it's been painted black or anodized black. It does have a nice sharp edge. And then they sanded it to give you a nice silver highlight there on that raised portion. So that's pretty nice, and a little laser etched rock river. We can see that the G10 really is the same fiber reinforced material because you can see the fiber reinforcing there. And it does have a texturing, although to tell you the truth, I've gotten used to this Harbor Freight because it has a much more aggressive texturing, and I really do like that a lot. The other issue here is we can see the Harbor Freight has a finger switch to help allow you to deploy it faster. How that works is you just have the finger and you can use it to help flick the knife out, and allows you to have an easy and quick one-handed operation, and at the same time it provides a little finger hold there, so if you're trying to poke in the packaging or something like that, it's less likely for your hand to slide down off the handle of the knife, and obviously that could be a real serious issue if your hand does slide off the handle. This one, they do have some pretty nice finger serrations, two nice deep ones, and then a nice, it has good ergonomics, it's the easiest way of putting it. But it does not have any kind of real definitive or solid finger block, so you want to be a little more careful with this one. It does have a pretty nice size, solid rivet, so that's also something I appreciate. Something else that we can see here is that it does have a real deep pocket clip. I'm suspecting why they advertise this as being reinforced is because it actually has this loop. I like the loop because it sits super deep in the pocket. When this thing is folded up, it literally is almost flush. There's just a little bit on top, extruding or sticking out from the top of the pocket. It's actually even more compact in the Harbor Freight. The other thing that I understand is when you do a little loop, you have less issues. Over time, these belt clips tend to get bent and just don't hold on very tight. And that would be because there just isn't a lot of area to take a lot of stress there. So when you do a little U-shape there, you give more metal and a little bit more spring action, so it's a bit more compliant and less likely to get permanently deformed. And since they do advertise it as being a 3 1/4 inch, let's take a look here against the Harbor Freight. Oh yeah, it's obvious it really is. So they're not lying to you. It is just a little bit longer than the Harbor Freight that's advertised as 3 inches. So that would be kind of an apples to apples comparison. This Rock River is a little nicer than the Harbor Freight. Just has a little bit taller of a body, a little bit larger of a blade. Well, unfortunately, this Harbor Freight on sale is like, $6 or $7 or something. It's really, really cheap. Actually, I think it's $5, and I think this is the one that's $6 or $7, the all stainless steel body one. So, and it's all just kind of personal opinion, really, when it comes to pocket knives. Really, the reason I bought these is because I was with a friend at Fastenal, and they have a commercial account, and these were a couple of display or on-the-counter units that already had the packaging had already been opened, so they just wrote it up as $20. He's a pretty regular customer, so I thought that was pretty cool. A real rare find. More than likely, you're going to end up paying, if you're an individual consumer, $20 or so for this one, and $20 or so for the metal one, and about $25 for the composite handle one. One last thing I am noticing versus all of these other knives is that for some reason they have this corner. It's what butts up against this post here, but they could have moved the post a little more forward. That way you didn't have this big corner sticking out. So that's one kind of an odd thing about this. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the all metal one, which actually I like better. It's obviously heavier, and for some reason is cheaper. Alrighty, so I just had to test it with a magnet. This does have a steel or a magnetic steel liner, and then 2 aluminum panels on each side, which I do like. It is a little bit heavier, so I appreciate that. I also appreciate the extra strength. So this one is sold as a safety knife. So it has a few different features. One, it has a pretty wide slot right here, which I thought would be a place to put a lanyard, but you can see the tip of the blade actually goes into the slot, so that wouldn't really work as a lanyard slot, although they should have made it that way. It's a little bit strange to me. They do have this hardened steel block. If we can get the camera to focus, there it is. With a little point, this is advertised as a window breaker, and then they have a basically a seatbelt cutter, but in a utility situation, this would be great just for any kind of line or cord cutter. And there is a nice little blade. One thing, it is an independent little blade in there that's actually, let me get a flashlight. Here we go. We can, if we can get it to focus, there we go. So you can see that there's a little notch in that window breaker, and actually there's even light in there, so that isn't, the measurements haven't been quite perfect on this knife. You can see that right now. There's just a little bit of light in there. But then you have an independent little sharpened piece of metal, and it's actually held in with 2 screws, one on each side. So that's actually not bad. That's fairly decent build quality. A lot of little parts just to make a seatbelt cutter and a window breaker. I do like that the aluminum panels just give you some extra rigidity, a little extra weight. You can see it has quite a few nice little cutouts, a similar style or the same style. It fits deeply in the pocket, which I appreciate. Although I'm realizing on both this one and this one that the belt clip is not repositionable or reversible in any fashion. Like the Harbor Freight, where you can put it top and bottom on either side, so it's totally ambidextrous, and I appreciate that a lot. So if we open it up here, we do have some, you know, standard grade serrations. They would be similar to what's on this Harbor Freight Tactical. There we go. Almost exactly the same. 2 small, 1 wide, 2 small, 1 wide. Strangely enough, on the website, they showed one with just a bunch of aggressive serrations, kind of like a bread knife, so it's kind of nice to see that it's more of a standard design. I do like the black colored blade, and then they, of course, they have the laser etching on there. And I do like the oversized rivet that they have, or excuse me, the hinge screw. One thing that's surprising is that term jimping, the serrations that help you hold on to it. This has none anywhere on it. So that's a little puzzling to me, especially considering that you're going to be holding this in an emergency situation. You're, you know, whatever, got in some type of car wreck and you need to cut that seatbelt out and break a window, and it's all a pretty slick body here. So that's a bit of a shortcoming, especially because the finger cutouts here, the ergonomics are even less aggressive than what they are on just the standard grade folding knife. See, that's much deeper than it is on these. So it's a little puzzling that this one that's sold as a safety knife actually seems that it would be rather unsafe to use in a variety of situations, because this is such you know, such weak finger cutouts. When you're trying to, you know, poke into some kind of plastic packaging or something like that, you really have to be careful. And when there's no serrations, I mean, this could be real easy for this to slip. And so, you know, that is always something that I'm scared of. And I'll have to admit, that's one of the things, you know, that I didn't like about the Milwaukee, was the same situation, just not much to hold on to. And that's what makes these Harbor Freights just such a big deal. That little flat spot right there allows you to be very solid. You could just push this into wood, all sorts of carving, and with the jimping on top, the serrations, you really have a nice solid grip. This is not going to slip. I mean, this, you'll bend the tip of it well and even break it before your hand slips. And that's also what I appreciate about this one. We haven't even opened this one up yet, was the fact that it flares out quite widely. And that really also allows you to get a really nice solid grip. And I also like the ergonomics, the way that handle tapers off. It just fits perfectly right in the palm of your hand, further preventing it from wanting to slip around. And so that would probably be my biggest criticism. These Rock Rivers appear to be made pretty well. I'm sure they have a higher grade, or I would assume they have a higher grade blade steel than what these Harbor Freights in Milwaukee uses, although I couldn't find anything where they discuss what the blade steel is, unless it was like their real expensive knives, the $50 plus. So anyway, as far as especially considering I mean, these are generally, I wouldn't recommend them unless you can get them on sale for a good price, or you really like Rock River, or you have more knowledge of knives and know that the blade steel is significantly better than maybe on these Milwaukees or the Harbor Freights. But the problem is that, trying to justify, especially this one, versus, this retail is going to be $20 to $25. You can get 4 or 5 of these Harbor Freights for the same price. And this is not 4 times the knife. I can assure you that. So generally speaking, these are my First Rock River products, and I think, they're kind of neat. It's kind of an impulse buy because they were on a special open box sale. But they're certainly not something I would have purchased had I needed to pay full retail, or even Fastenal's $17 and $15 wholesale price. Anyway, I'll include the part numbers for all of these in the description. And I really appreciate everybody watching. And I appreciate everybody subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Catus Maximus out.